Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you back to the Dynamic Decisions podcast, where we explore the strategies that drive successful decision-making in the world of business and economic development. Why? Because the best decisions come from great conversations. I'm your host, Tisha Cable, CEO of C Model Data, and today I am excited to have someone on the show today who I know now personally. His name is Coreata. He's the director of the City of Birmingham's Department of Innovation and Economic Opportunity. He is the leader that is shaping inclusive economic growth across all 99 Birmingham neighborhoods. Coreata is the self-described solutions architect, okay? The person who walks into a room and sees what needs to be solved before anyone else recognizes that there's even a problem. So he currently leads the entire economic development, workforce development, and small business infrastructure for the city of Birmingham, which includes everything from real estate management to economic data intelligence to programs like Bold, Rise, Vital, and the newly launched $20 million Reinvest Birmingham Workforce Initiative. So, Coreata, I'm super excited to have you here today. Yeah.
Yes, no, I'm excited to be here. No, you're so excited. Normally, I'm your energy, and people are like, "Oh my God!" I'm like, "What do I do this?" No, but it's good. It's good to be here.
Awesome. Tell everybody a little bit more about you, the city of Birmingham, what you guys are doing, what you're working on. Tell us about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an exciting time, exciting and challenging. As you said, I do proudly and humbly get to serve the city of Birmingham as the director for the Department of Innovation and Economic Opportunity. That's a big, long word. We call it IEO. So if you hear IEO, Innovation, Economic Opportunity, all the same thing. But we do every day get to wake up and figure out how do we help grow this city that we so affectionately call the Magic City, right? There's a lot of magic in Birmingham. There's a lot of people that make up the magic in Birmingham. And so it is our responsibility to both attract and market that to other folks. And so that's the core of what we do, is try to grow the city's tax base. Now, the pillars of growing that is through workforce development, is through economic development, real estate management, business intelligence, and small business growth. All of that helps us grow that tax base in different ways. And so some of it's challenging, right? Like, we're in a time, in a market, in an environment that is risk adverse from all standards. People do not commune as they used to after COVID. So socially, people are risk adverse. Financially, people are risk adverse. Resources are down in personal lives and business lives. And so it is an interesting time to be in economic development, and as we call it, innovation and economic opportunity. And so what we try to lean into, because some people don't see an opportunity, right? They don't say, it's like, what does that mean? I don't see that happening every day. And we're shifting that narrative to say, it is not what you saw 10, 15 years ago. Right? It is now something different, which we're really leaning into that innovation side, which means, like a tree grows both ways, roots, and then you see what's growing on top. But both of them have to happen at the same time. And I think people forget that sometimes. And that's how I like to ground economic development. We grow in both ways all the times. Sometimes you see that tree blooming and everything is green and there's flowers and all of that. And then there's some seasons you don't see it, but that tree is still there. But those roots are really starting to ground and get stronger. And at some point, you're going to see that sprout. And so I think that's where Birmingham is at this point, is that we're getting our roots strong. We're making sure that that foundation is strong so that when we start to grow, when those new population and residents and those new businesses come in, we won't forget what the root of Birmingham is. And so I'm excited that we get to do that every single day. Sometimes it is a little tiring, I'm not going to do that, right? It's a little tiring sometimes, but that does not mean that we don't enjoy and we don't get to wake up every day thinking about what is next for Birmingham, the next generation. And so we're just excited about that. I'm personally excited to be able to lead this team in doing that.
I love it. So one of the things that you've been able to do has really transformed Birmingham's entire approach to economic development. You've been working since 2020 on this. Can you talk me through a specific moment when you realized the conventional playbook wasn't working and you had to build something completely different? What changed your thinking?
Oh, I'll tell you, when I came to city government, I started city government in January of 2020.
Right
New
when
to city
COVID.
government about 30 days before COVID happened and everything shut down. So imagine having to do economic development in a way that's now virtual. I don't know anybody. Nobody knows me. I'm reaching out. They're like, who are you? What are you working on? Right. And so I had to learn that firsthand and just trying to get anything done in City Hall. But I think more so than that, I started having conversations once we were able to talk to people, with some constituents, with some business owners. And I realized oftentimes it wasn't what the city does or does not do. It was just education about civic government.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, wait. At the end of the day, we're public servants. Yes, we have titles, we have departments, we have lanes that we work within, and we respect those and we try to maintain that. But there are times where someone walks into our office and it is not about just what we can give. It's about educating you on the civic part of government
Mm-hmm.
and what that means, because it shouldn't matter whether I'm sitting in this seat or not. You should know how government works for you. And so that was an eye-opening moment for me, because I thought, well, surely if you're coming to the city, you have some relevance to how this works because you thought, hey, let me go to the city. That was not the case. And so that
Mm-hmm.
was eye-opening for me as a baby in government. And I thought, as I travel on this journey, I'm going to always remain someone who is teachable and
Mm-hmm.
someone who likes to teach others to say, hey, I hear what you're saying. That's not quite what you need because you're not ready yet. But here's a landscape of activity that you need to consider, that you
Mm-hmm.
can educate yourself on, so that it doesn't matter whether, because I don't like people coming to City Hall. Like, I talked to Coreata and he said,
Mm-hmm.
that's that's not public service, right? Like
That's
you should
right.
be able to just come in City Hall and go to the economic development department and get what you need. And it should depend on a person. And
That's
so
right.
that was really eye opening to me to see the lack of critical knowledge of how city government works.
Mm-hmm.
And I've probably taken on that role more often than I should have, but I think it's also very good because I've now heard some business owners come back and say, you know what? I remember 2 years ago when you sat down with me and I was coming to you for something else. And you said, not right now, but let me give you these. And
Mm-hmm.
now I understand why you did that, because now I'm able to engage in a different way. And again, if
Mm-hmm.
we can reach one, I'm a Christian guy.
Yeah,
So if we can reach one, then that one can reach 1,000, right?
that's
And so
so
I
good.
really do take that into consideration, that we're not going to reach everybody. But if
That's
I
right.
can reach that one, hopefully then they can go and tell someone else, and then that person tells someone else, so that everyone is civically engaged. So that was one of the eye-opening things for me. And I think as far as process, what we translated that to is to say, hey, everybody's not going to understand what I say. So now we have to put it in digital format. Now
Mm-hmm.
we need email. Now we need text. Now we need now we need programming that is educational first and not just an event. And so we really started to transform how we engage to make sure that at the end of the day, I don't care if 50 people show up or five. We're
Mm-hmm.
going to educate 5, 50, 500, 5,000.
I
We
love
have
it.
the same mission no matter who's in the room. And I'm so thankful for the creative team and the dedicated team in economic development who can walk into a room. And sometimes we say, hey, 100 people signed up, but
Mm-hmm.
2 people showed. They still attack that as if 100 people showed up in that room, because the goal is the same. Our root is the same, is to educate and be a public servant. And that's how we've translated some of that into our everyday task that we do here.
Yeah, and you're building an independence inside of your community that they'll value down the line, because the more you know, right? So you oversee everything from Bold, Reinvest Birmingham. Those are not just, programs. That's really like an entire ecosystem. What's the core principle that connects all of these initiatives together? What's the thread that runs through everything that you're building?
I would say economic empowerment is that core principle throughout all of that. I think for both BOLD, which is empowering local organizations to stabilize and revitalize neighborhoods. I think the second part of that for reinvest is a very specific order around prime age employment gap. Again, it's around the empowerment of people to not just get jobs, but grow in those jobs and maintain those jobs as well.
That's really good. And let's stay on the BOLD area really quickly. I want to ask you, so BOLD has distributed over $6.2 million to 66 organizations. That's massive amount of community reinvestment. But you could have just gone about this by writing checks, but you don't. Instead, BOLD includes technical assistance workshops, interdepartmental reviews, ongoing performance assessments. Can you talk me through that framework? Why does this process matter as much as the money? And what are you trying to accomplish through that kind of rigor?
You've done a lot of research.
Yes, I have.
No, that's good. So BOLD is our baby, right? Like that is our grant making funding activity that happens through our office. And so the reason why it's structured the way it is because again, we have a responsibility as public servants to leave people better than what we found them. And so we could write a check, but that doesn't necessarily mean we left you better than we found you. Right? We gave you funding. It happened. But how do we know if it's effective? And so we're responsible to give you that feedback to say, oh, that's interesting. We gave you $100,000 and nobody attained a credential that could get them a job, or there was no wage growth, or we didn't see businesses grow. Like, we need some real impact because again, let's caveat this and through line, these are taxpayer dollars in Birmingham. So the benefit should always be back to those who are paying the taxes, residents, businesses. And so it's our responsibility to make sure that if we are investing, there's a direct benefit back to our residents. And so BOLD has been through a couple of versions, and over the last, I would say 5 to 6 years, it has really tightened up. We've had some people say, my goodness, this is like a federal program, air quotes.
Right.
But that's a good thing because here's what we want out of BOLD, and here's why we've structured it the way we have. We want you to apply for BOLD, but not just apply. To your point, we're going to give you the technical assistance. And so we didn't always do that, but we heard people say, this application is long. I don't understand this. And I was like, wait a minute, wait. Let's think about it, guys. We're getting phone calls, emails. Let's just do TA. We take the questions out of it and provide the information, right? So we do 4 sections to talk through all applications, how to be a BOLD awardee, the budget, all things. And we do 15-minute personal TA sessions every Friday during the RFP process. So we're asking for a lot, but we're also giving a lot back. And so part of that was because we saw, and BOLD is not intended to be continuous funding forever until whenever. Right. And so we thought, okay, if we're putting in front of those who may apply that after 2 years, you're considered less competitive and we want you to go on and get other funding. Again, it is our responsibility to be able to platform you in a way that you can do that. And so we've now provided you with TA. We've structured our application in a way that's comparable to other applications around grants, both in the county, the state, the federal, and nonprofit world. We've set up reporting mechanisms that are very best practice and what they look like across the board. You get to go through 12 months of performance. It used to be 6 months, what can you do in 6 months to really see change, right? So we increase that to 12 months and you get to run and do that program. And guess what? If you come into any issues in between that 12-month process, we are a partner, right? We do not view BOLD as a compliance-driven program where we sit back and say, all right, you said you would do this, check, check, check. You didn't do this. All right, non-compliant. We say, hey, what's the issue? How can we help? Is it something we can do as a partner to make sure that this is done? And so while we structure that the way that we did is because after BOLD is over, We want you to be thinking about what is next.
What happens
Where's my
next?
next funding opportunity? Can I actually now take the program that I applied for that we've helped shape and create a very clear objective to, clear outcomes to? There's a data-driven approach and decision to what you did, how you did it, and why you did it. And now you're able to take that whole profile and persona of a program and say, I was invested $100,000 from the city. I leveraged my 20%, which is another thing. People are like, I got to leverage my own. I've leveraged my own investment into this. And this is what I was able to do. And you're able to take that to another funder and get funding. And we know that's true because we've had several people do that. One in particular, I won't call their name just to, protect the innocence there. We went through the program. They went through the first time, very low amount. They applied the second year for a higher amount, but they doubled their reporting. They said, hey, last year we served X amount. This year we're going to double that because now we understand what to do and how to do it. Also, we're start applying for other funding. Can you write us a letter of support now that we've proven what we've done? Guess what? You have a year worth of performance that we can say absolutely what you said you would do 12 months ago is what you did, and we will absolutely do that. They were able to get their largest grant in the history of the organization based on the structure and setup that they used during BOLD. We have many stories like that of organizations who were like, this was a lot. This was rigid in the beginning. But at the end of it, they're like, we see why you guys stuck to that and thank you for that. So that is why we're so passionate about BOLD, and BOLD is our baby, and we do take feedback. There are times where we go through and we get a new question and we're like, oh, we didn't think about that. We're going to do that next year. Like we've already set the structure up this year, but next year we're going to think about that. And so we do, as we go through this, think about how is it best fitting the environment that we have now.
So good. And I think the thing that I love the most is, and I said it a little while ago, building independence, but that self-sufficiency for the community in itself is really important. So educating and then creating that only makes it easier for you all. So you talk a lot about all 99 Birmingham neighborhoods having access to economic opportunity. So that it's not just your rhetoric though, right? You are actually explicitly mapping which neighborhoods get funding. Where does it go? Where Reinvest Birmingham operates, where RISE loans are concentrated. Walk me through how you think about this equitable geographic distribution. What does it look like when economic development actually reaches neighborhoods that may have been historically excluded from growth?
First of all, it's hard. Let's just start there. Like, let's be honest, right? It is hard because there's such a large need in our community. Hundreds of years of impact to disinvestment in communities that look like Birmingham. And so when you think about cities like Birmingham, we don't have the luxury to be a city that has subsets of disinvestment. There are times in our history here that the entire city was not invested in except for a little small piece of that. This is not about history. This is about economic opportunity. What's in the future, right? So we won't get into that, but I think that helps us settle into our 99 neighborhoods. It's not one or two that have been disinvested. There are multiple in different ways. Now, again, I didn't realize I was going to use this analogy throughout. It's the tree thing again. There are some that look very well invested and you see the green and you see the leaves and the branches, but oftentimes or sometimes those roots may not be intact. So one wind or one blow, one rainstorm, one weather event, and all of a sudden it's gone, right? We've seen that happen. For us and for me personally, I believe that all 99 neighborhoods deserve that access to economic opportunity because at the end of the day, it decentralizes how you access that, right? And the education to residents and business owners is not just about what comes out of downtown and City Hall, but it's really about what comes off the front porch there. What comes out of the candy lady that's in the community, right? What comes off of, Mr. Sam, who is a retired mechanic who's helping my grandma make sure that her brakes are good when she go to church on Sunday because she can't afford to go to the mechanic. That's the decentralization of economic opportunity that we have to revitalize while also adding, and I hate to say real, while also adding a more quantifiable economic opportunity as well, like jobs, like infrastructure, like public safety, those things that are critical to neighborhood sustaining. And in order to do that, it's not just City Hall saying, hey, here's what we're going to do. It's us working together. How do we make sure that all 99 neighborhoods are reflective to what they want? All 99 want something different. All of them don't want the same thing. And so you think about almost having like 99 children. Imagine that. I don't have any children, but I have nieces and nephews. All of them want something different. I'm the uncle you can call and be like, hey, can I get this? I can imagine having 99 children who all need something different. And the amount of sort of digesting it takes to say, okay, these two want this, these two want that, these five want that. I can do this, I can do that. I can't do this time. I need to do this, like that sort of vacillation back and forth on decision making can be very difficult, which is why we need it to be a true collaboration, because there are some things that on the community level that we can do together, and then we layer in the workforce, the small business, the economic opportunity, the real estate infrastructure, the public safety. And now we've built this beautiful community that doesn't depend on someone else coming in and doing it, but the community now says, hey, this is ours. We know how to advocate for ourselves. We know how to maintain ourselves, and we know how to grow ourselves as well. And so that's why it's so important to me that all 99 neighborhoods don't just watch online and on social media what's happening, but get involved in the accountability part of that to say, you know what, there's something that I could do for this. And I am so fortunate to be in this seat and to have grown throughout my journey here at City Hall. And I've seen people come back and go with us and say, you know what? You told me something a couple of years ago and I didn't believe it because I thought you were just trying to get me out your office. But now I see what you're talking about. And I'll, if they see this, they'll probably know, but don't comment if you see this because you'll reveal your identity. But I had a person come into City Hall and they were sent to the Economic Development Department for some assistance. And we started talking and wasn't able to help her in the way that they wanted to be helped. And we just started talking about just like, okay, how did you get to me? Like, talk me through the journey of how you got to me. And they said that they were sent and they thought that we reported to the county and the county reported to the state and the state reported to the federal government as in a business.
Oh, wow.
I said,
Wow.
okay. Okay. So I said, we're good on the business stuff, right? Like you got what you need. Let me set aside 30 minutes to talk about civic government and how this works, right? And we talked about how our city council works, how the county commissioner, how our legislators work. And they left like, I knew that, but I think I forgot after I left high school. And to this day, they still come up to me and like, that was the best meeting I've ever had. So that's what it's all about.
I love it. Okay, we're going to get into my favorite part of this whole thing. Okay.
I think I know what you're talking about.
All right. So I do something called a decision style persona assessment. Okay. So I'm going to ask you 4 different questions and they represent different decision-making approaches. So after each one, you're going to tell me how much the way that I'm asking the question resonates with how you actually make decisions. And you'll have this scale, you'll have 0 to 100%, but you only get 100% across all 4. Okay. And I give them to you one at a time. So I'll give you the persona, give you the question. You'll give me your rating and then you'll say why. You'll give a little why. Okay.
Okay.
You ready for the first one?
I think.
Okay. You're ready. You are. You got it. Here it is. It's called the feeler. It's a values-driven leader. So this persona prioritizes alignment with core values and mission, often weighing the human impact and cultural fit of decisions alongside business metrics. So, Coreate, when allocating funding or structuring loans, I ask myself, does this serve communities historically excluded from opportunity, or does this just hit our numbers? When entrepreneurs interact with Vital or Reinvest Birmingham, do they genuinely feel valued by city government, or is it just performative inclusion? If I could hit targets by funding established businesses, but doing so would miss underserved neighborhoods, that would contradict everything. How do I ensure that my work actually empowers people versus just imposing solutions? So, Coreate, how much does approaching decisions by asking yourself these kind of values-based questions resonate with you?
You said what's my scale again?
So you get 0 to 100%, but you only get 100% across all four.
Or all four.
Yes.
Ooh. And you're going to tell me this one by one.
Yes.
Ooh. And I can't go back and like change.
Maybe at the
Let me see. Okay, let's see. That is definitely a priority. I'm going to say that's at least 50%.
Okay. Tell me a little bit of why. Why is that at your 50?
Because we are serving humans in this public service space that we're in. Oftentimes I am looking at spreadsheets and numbers and impact, and it looks good. But I also have to then start thinking realistically. You say you're going to serve 100 businesses on this side of town. And I'm thinking, I don't even know if I can think about 100 small businesses in that area. So is that actually true? Numbers look good. I can say, yes, we funded somebody who said they would do that. But I also have to start thinking about the end and say, can you actually do that? Do we have 100 businesses in that area? So that's my approach there. So I would say that's at least 50.
Okay, 50% feeler. You ready for the next one? The next one is called...
Hopefully I didn't regret it.
No, that's okay. There's no regret in this. It's all in good joy. Okay, the next one is called the planner. It's a strategic visionary. So this persona focuses on long-term implications and future-proofing decisions, always thinking several moves ahead and considering multiple scenarios. So structuring a program like Reinvest Birmingham and even Bold, I ask myself, if I train workers but don't create quality jobs alongside it, have I actually solved anything or just created frustration? If I build startup infrastructure without explicitly helping minority-owned businesses scale and accumulate wealth, am I creating opportunity or recycling poverty? Are these initiatives compounding over time to create generational wealth for Birmingham residents, or are they solving today's problems in ways that constrain tomorrow? So how much does that forward-thinking scenario planning approach to kind of questioning resonate with your decision-making?
I will say I wish I could do more of this, but that's a 20%.
Okay.
That's a 20% because in sort of the world in which we live in, a lot of what we see and consume in city government is about what our citizens need in the moment, what our small businesses need in the moment. And so there are times in the year, in the month, in the day that we don't get to lift up and think 10 years ahead or 5 years or for the next day. We're saying, hey, we got a small business that's about to close and we've got to try to figure out if we can do anything right now. So I wish we could do more of that, but I think for the question at hand, where we do that now in percentage, I would say it's about 20% of that.
Okay. Awesome. I like that. And the other thing is you might have others in your group who do much better at that, right? It might not be in your wheelhouse. So good. Yep. Okay. You ready for the next one? It's called the counter. It's a challenger of assumptions. So this persona naturally questions conventional wisdom and looks for contrarian opportunities, often finding success by zigging when others zag. So looking at most cities chasing big corporate recruitment, I ask myself, is that actually the right strategy? Are they competing for the wrong prizes? What if Birmingham's real competitive advantage is building robust small business ecosystems and removing barriers for entrepreneurs we already have? Do cities struggle with inclusive growth because they're focused on the wrong playbook? What assumptions about economic development could be completely flipped to create better outcomes? Okay, Coreate, how much does that assumption challenging style?
See, I should have not said 50% at the beginning. Okay, so I'm gonna give my reason and then my percentage last. I'm gonna flip it a little bit.
Okay.
I can live in that freely. I love the countering of assumptions. It helps me grow. It helps me think, and I think it helps others. But some people don't like it. But I'm always the one that's like, I hear that, but what if? I hear that, but did you have local data or is it metro data? Is that state that you pulled in or did you do groundwork? Like, I'm always that one that's going to be looking around the corner with the but. Not to necessarily say I don't think we should do it. I just want to see, have we thought about it, right? I'm being, I guess, the solutions architect. I'm always thinking about risk mitigation. Did we think 2, 3, 4 steps ahead? Did we turn the corner? Did we unscrew this? Like, did we do all of that? I would say I'm at 70 already.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got one more. That's big. I'm going to say 20%.
Okay. 20%. That leaves 10 left for the last one.
I know.
20% counter. That's good. All right. Are you ready? The last one is
Yes.
called the data driver. It's the evidence-based decision maker. So this persona relies heavily on metrics, analytics, and concrete evidence to validate decisions, preferring proof over intuition. So allocating funding or designing programs, I ask myself, what data tells me these initiatives actually achieve growth, job creation, business survival rates, wealth accumulation by neighborhood? But I also have to ask, how do I measure whether entrepreneurs actually feel valued or whether communities truly feel ownership? What qualitative signals from the residents and business owners tell me this is working, not just hitting numbers? How do I balance rigorous data with outcomes that resist measurement but determine if my work actually succeeds? Okay.
I do agree that that's probably 10%. And here's
Okay.
why. I just recategorized one of my team units to a business intelligence unit who is charged with validating data that then I get to look at and then make the decision. So that is definitely 10% of that decision tree, but someone else is pulling that in saying, hey, I heard what you want to do. I'm now going to take that and try to validate it with data, bring it back to you. And there are times I'm like, okay, the data may not support it, but I do have some like anecdotal data that just keeps suggesting that we should. Here's the thing. Anecdotal data can stand up in court. So there's some validation in that, right? But I would say that's about 10 of the tree in its current fashion, with the small caveat that there's a team that we've recharacterized to be able to validate that and bring it to me to then review and just say, yes, this makes sense. And now we're going to move in this direction.
So good. 50% feeler, 20% planner, 20% counter, and 10% data driver, which is so interesting because data lives and evidence the way you described it underneath all of those areas of your decision making. Okay, thank you. So good. As we kind of wrap up our conversation, I got one final question for you. So you've transformed how Birmingham really approaches economic development from the ground up. That's what you're working on. You've built this intentional programming across 99 neighborhoods. At least you're working on it. You're orchestrating billions in public and private investment towards this inclusive version of growth. If you could give one piece of advice to other economic development leaders who are trying to build solutions-oriented, community-centered, intentional programs that actually change lives and neighborhoods, what would it be?
I would say go beyond the Excel sheet. Go beyond the projected impact. Go beyond the projected capital expenditure. Go beyond the headline and get into community to see what the oldest person wants in that community and then what the youngest person deserves. That would be my advice.
That is so good. So you guys all heard it first. Coreata, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your insights, your approach, really combining solutions architecture with real genuine community ownership. It feels like exactly what a lot of cities really need. So thank you for sharing that here. tell our listeners where they can learn more about you and more about the city of Birmingham.
Absolutely. First, thank you for having me. This is a joy. Like I could talk about this for hours. And so I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk through a short time of what we're doing in the office, what we're doing for the city here in Birmingham. You can find us online at ieo.birminghamal.gov. That's the City of Birmingham's website. You can also follow us on socials. We have IEO Birmingham on IG, Instagram, and Facebook. We also have a small business page, which is OBDO Birmingham, both on Facebook and Instagram as well. If you need particular small business support, the IEO is more general. But yeah, feel free to follow us on all of that. Stay up to date on things that are coming out, things we've done, get a sense of where we are, connect with us. All of that. We're constantly doing something and trying to make Birmingham better. And so we're excited about the future and defining really what that is and what it looks like for the next decade or two of Birmingham.
I love it. And to our listeners, we want to thank you for tuning in. Remember, the best decisions come from great conversations. If you've enjoyed this episode, we want you to subscribe it, rate it, share it with your network, and let's keep the conversation going on social media using Dynamic Decisions Podcast. And until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and keep leading with purpose.